Hello, welcome to the program. Ahead, radio unites across the country to officially launch digital. News Corp's annual results, and when Rupert Murdoch plans to make consumers pay for his news websites. And as Nine's Digital Channel Go prepares for launch, we'll be talking to Les Sampson, the Director of Acquisitions, Daytime and Multi-Channels at the network. But first, to the media story that dominated headlines again this week. On Stereo's Today FM breakfast duo, Kyle and Jackie O, notably absent from the Radio United digital event in Sydney. They remain off the air while Austereo conducts a review into the radio segment that saw a 14-year-old girl reveal live, during a lie detector stunt, that she'd been raped. Carl Sandilands has also been dumped as a judge on 10's Australian Idol. Well, let's get our co-host James Manning's thoughts on this. He is, of course, the editor and publisher of Media Week magazine. James, this story just continues to go on. What's the latest with it? What do you think will happen next?
Well, we actually bumped into the CEO of Austereo this morning at the digital radio launch event in Sydney. Had a couple of days' growth on his face. He said he was incognito, but it's probably because he hasn't had time to get out of the office. I mean, there's been a lot of meetings going on. What's the best course forward for them? He told us they're going to be making an announcement next week after the survey. The survey results are out on Tuesday. Then Austereo will come out explaining exactly what they're doing to the market. Most people assume they'll be back on air, because I think there's just too much at stake. Although when you say that, I think a lot of people were surprised that Network 10 took the action they did.
Yeah, well, I mean, so you think they will keep their jobs? And
yeah, it seems to be, yeah. I mean, the worst case scenario, if they stay, is that, OK, they'll lose a couple of sponsors, maybe a few listeners. The worst case scenario, if they go, I think, is, well, and a new show loses all their listeners and all their sponsors. So it's that business decision that they're faced with, I think.
And with Australian Idol, 10 taking the decision, as you said, to dump Kyle as a judge. Obviously, he'll be seen for the first couple of episodes because they've already been filmed. When do you think that a new judge will be announced?
Well, I think they need a new judge for the show on August 24, which is the first of their live shows. I think that week they actually have 5 live semi-finals stripped across the week, and they want to bring in the new judge for that. Yeah, so 5 shows and a big job for them straight away.
Yeah, sure will be. All right, plenty more to come on that, I'm sure. Well, of course, as we mentioned, Kyle and Jackie O might not have been there, but radio rivals, more than 40 different stations, in fact, put the competition aside for a simultaneous outside broadcast across the country to promote digital radio. The aim? To send a message to a potential audience of 8.5 million about the benefits of digital radio. James, obviously it was held in Melbourne, in Brisbane, in Perth, in Adelaide. You were at the event in Sydney. I mean, just how much of a success do you think it was?
Well, I think it was great, you know, and I said this morning to somebody, this could be the forerunner of, I think, for either a National Radio Day or a National Radio Week, where they really get out and meet the public, which is something that radio doesn't do a lot of. And I think there was like 3,000 people or more in Melbourne. You were there in Sydney too. I probably wouldn't be surprised if it was equal that sort of a crowd. And it was really difficult to walk around. There were just so many people, you know. It was a very successful day, I think.
Yeah, and good to see all the digital radios and the adapters for the cars and all that.
Sure, yeah, they're pushing all the receivers, and spoke to some of the importers, saying, yeah, look, it's still hard to find. The retailers, JB Hi-Fi, have been selling a lot of these handsets. They're in big demand.
Good to hear. Now, of course, during that event, we did speak to Joan Warner, the CEO of Commercial Radio Australia, and we asked her just how all the rival radio stations were getting along.
Well, they're getting along amazingly well, Bridie. They're running around doing live crosses to each other's station, and, you know, there's no blood being spilt yet, so I think it's going very well.
How is the take-up of digital radio faring as well? Do you think the message is getting out there to listeners?
Well, I think any listener that's listening to a commercial radio station or the ABC or SBS this morning will hear all about it. And in every city where we've launched, we have this going on. We have all radio stations broadcasting together. So if people don't get it today, they'll never get it.
What sort of interest has there been from advertisers as well in digital radio?
Well, it's early days yet, but certainly the discussions we've had with advertisers is that they're very, very interested in the visual aspects of digital radio, additional stations. Nova Nation has just signed a deal with Smirnoff for exclusive sponsorship, which is a new digital station. And of course, they're interested in the text, where they can have special offers on every radio station. So very interested, but early days.
Of course, we couldn't talk about radio without mentioning the row over the segment on Kyle and Jackie O's breakfast show. Do you feel that has overshadowed this promotion of the digital radio at all?
Not at all.
And just, I guess as well, no ARN FM stations taking part in this. Has that detracted from the event?
Well, you have a look. Do you think it's detracted? I don't think so. ARN has said quite clearly right from the beginning that they wanted to showcase their new digital radio station, and that's exactly what they're doing with The Edge. So, you know, we knew that was happening. It's no surprise to us. It might be a surprise to others, but I think it might work for them today because we think we'll get a great crowd at every site throughout Australia.
Just back to the Kyle and Jackie O row, just very quickly. I mean, do you think that there is any sense that there needs to be more regulations or similar regulations to what AM radio has to try and avert anything like that happening again?
Well, I'd prefer not to comment on that issue, but I will say that there is no regulation for any radio station, AM or FM, to have a dump switch or a 7-second delay. It's up to the radio stations. And I think that we are one of the most over-regulated industries in Australia, so we would not be happy to have any more regulation imposed on us.
And I spoke to Cathy O'Connor, the Chief Executive of DMG Radio, and asked whether radio networks still need to do a lot more of these sort of events to build their audience for digital stations.
Oh goodness, I don't know. I think this is probably a nice event for a launch. Whether we could sustain it every day, I think it might be a bit too many early starts for too many staff members.
Yeah, I mean, you've got your analogue stations here, the big crowds to see the talent.
Yep.
Is there any way you've got to be careful to cross-promote because you don't want to cannibalise from existing audiences?
Look, I think in the early days, you know, a lot of the new digital stations are totally unique. So I don't think it matters that existing radio listeners are made aware of brand new choices. You know, hopefully that creates word of mouth and that creates new listeners. So as long as they're unique channels, I think that the threat of cannibalisation is probably a little lower than if they were just more of the same.
Not all Sydney stations are here today, but both of yours are.
Yes.
Is it a big investment or?
Not really. I mean, I think it's probably a once-in-a-lifetime event to be able to see radio take on a whole new lease of life and become digital. I think it's worth being here, and that's the decision that our company made.
Yeah. A couple of the CEOs, Michael Anderson and Bob Longwell, have both announced they're stepping down.
Yes.
You're not going anywhere, are you, Cindy?
I'm staying put, thanks. I haven't finished what I started out doing at DMG, so no moves for me.
All right, good to hear. A very, very successful event, that one. Now, let's just turn to some of the other news of the week. And Southern Star, a couple of movements here. Hugh Marks stepping down, Rory Callaghan taking on the CEO role.
Yeah, this story's been around for a little while because there was some talk that Hugh was going to be consulting and working part-time, but they've delayed the announcement till he's been back. I think he had some extended leave, went on a trip around Australia and a few other things. So yeah, he's stepping down. He'll be a consultant now. Rory Callaghan's going to be the chief executive. He's got a background, X9, worked for Granada as well. Great production background. And of course, Courtney Gibson has left the ABC, or leaving, and she'll move across to Southern Star head of programs, I think.
Yep, there she is there. And now, to the row over the Australians' exclusive report into the terrorist raids. Just what went on here, because there seems to be differing views coming from the police and the Australian about the deal that was reached for when the exclusive would be published, and also if it was, the story was indeed in the paper that reached newsstands at 1 a.m. in the morning.
I think, isn't it? I mean, Cameron Stewart was a journalist involved who got the story. I think they had it, they said, around about a week before the raids actually took place. They spoke to the police, then they negotiated, look, we'll hold off till you say it's okay to go. I think the message they got, look, it'd be okay to go this week on a certain day. And there's just some argument over whether the Australian says they held the report back from the first editions, I think first 2 or 3 editions of the newspaper. Some people saying, no, look, that about 1 o'clock, as early as 1 o'clock, these newspapers turned up in some news agencies. Do many people buy the papers that time of day? Well, of course not. So I'm not quite sure how crucial it is, but I guess it's obviously you wouldn't want that sort of information getting out.
Yeah, and obviously the police looking for where the leak came from as well, from within for the Australians to get that story. Just turning to the magazine sector and some movements at New Idea, the editor is stepping down.
Yeah, Morales Estaro's leaving. Fairly tumultuous editorship she's had there, but often been in the papers for the wrong reasons. Pointing out mistakes the magazine's made, a few blues they've done. She's finally given a notice. She's heading back to the UK. A bit of speculation this week that Kim Wilson, a previous guest on our show here, of course, editor-in-chief of OK magazine, who left the magazine last week, might be moving across there. I think this will probably definitely be on, but I think Kim's actually out of the country or about to leave on an extended break, so probably nothing will happen till she gets back. The CEO of Pacific said this week Morella will be staying until they find a replacement, but I think it looks like it's going to happen.
And just very quickly, the publisher of Time Out Sydney is changing hands.
Yeah, Intermedia Group have taken a major shareholding. It might be 80-85%, something like that. Time Out magazine's actually been here for 2 years next month. It would be wrong to say the magazine struggled, but I think they'd agree they'd like selling many more copies each week, getting some more ads. It's been a weekly, it's been a fortnightly, it's been a monthly. So yeah, they've been experimenting. They've got an online version. So yeah, hopefully they might have a clearer way forward now.
All right, let's just move on, because obviously a very busy time this week in the media. News Corp coming out posting its fourth quarter results, a loss of $203 million, despite a strong performance from its cable networks division. The full year result, a $3.4 billion loss, was in line with its own forecasts. Chairman and CEO Rupert Murdoch says that the company's poised to profit and deliver strong returns as the economy rebounds. And he also said that News Corp intends to start charging for all its news websites in the 2010 financial year. All right, we might be able to bring that to you a little later. Now, let's just get the market's reaction to News Corp's numbers. Here's Chris Weston from IG Markets.
Certainly the big story in the media space today is News Corp's results. You know, it's obviously the sector heavyweight. It's a story that I've been following pretty close, a stock that I've been following relatively closely for some time. Yeah, the market seems to like the result. It's up 2.3%. Nothing too much in the way of unexpected information. The fourth quarter earnings per share at 19 cents, beating expectations by 1 cent. We saw their revenue down 11% to 7.67 million, slightly below expectations. We saw write-downs that plagued their previous result come up and pop its head up again. We did see the fourth quarter loss of $203 million. They took a hit, a $680 million charge on the Fox Interactive Media. If you take away or exclude those charges, they made operating income of $948 million. That was well ahead of expectations. We saw their cable network, but easily the best performer. That was up 39% there. Their magazines and inserts up 8%. Their television, Sky Italia, and newspapers were up, were significantly down, but better than expectations. We know Murdoch now plans to charge all online subscriptions. He has done that previously with the Wall Street Journal, but that's now going to include some of the English newspapers, The Sun, News of the World, and The Australian here in Australia. But some relatively confident narrative that he's going to meet guidance going forward. He expects to see a 4% improvement in operating income over 2010, and saying that the worst is potentially behind us. Now, I personally believe this stock still has good things to go. We could see this probably gravitate up to the November highs around the $16.50. The other story that we've been following over the last couple of days is 10 Network. It certainly had a bit of follow-on from yesterday's or Wednesday's 5.5% gain. It's up a further 7.5%, but it has been higher earlier on, giving a bit of a boost from that unemployment number that came out better than expected. That raising of $138 million takes their debt to EBITDA rating to 3.1 times from 4.1 times. The debt covenants state that it has to be below 4.3 times. So you can see it's taken a huge element of uncertainty away from their balance sheet. Morgan Stanley have upgraded their price target yesterday to $1.50, keeping them overweight. Citigroup not so positive on the stock. They've got a 75-cent target and a sell recommendation, saying that the stock's probably priced to perfection. Now, given the improvement that we've seen in the Australian economy, the fact that the 10 have got ratings momentum on their side, and they've obviously had this huge overhang taken off with the balance sheet issues, yeah, I personally believe that we could probably see some more upside for the stock and gravitate to that price target that Morgan Stanley have got of $1.50.
Coming up on Media Week, Nine's Go channel prepares for launch. Well, the Nine Network's digital channel Go launches this weekend. It's targeting the younger demographic, a market that has been successfully won by 10 and Fox 8. So to tell us more about the channel and how it's going to fare against those competitors, we're joined by Les Sampson, the Nine Network's Director of Acquisitions, Daytime and Multi-Channels. Les, thank you so much for coming in. Well, firstly, okay, so launches this Sunday.
Correct.
Just take us through the launch and the first program.
Sure. Well, the first program will go to air at 6:30 on Sunday night, which will be an Australian premiere episode of the US series Wipeout, Series 2. It is a big event. It fits the channel brand 14 to 39 perfectly. The rest of the night will be very strongly linked to comedy-style programming. We're doing a 2-hour stunt, back-to-back episodes of Big Bang Theory, followed by the Australian premiere episodes of Aliens in America. And then leading into Old Christine at 10 o'clock. So it's a fun night. I mean, the new channel is very much complementary to the premium channel. It's, again, it's a 14 to 39 skew, where the premium channel is a 25-54. So at all times when we schedule the new channel, we want to make sure that the content is complementary and does not obviously take away from the premium channel audience.
It's taken a little while to get it up. I think it was tied in. You had some content deals you wanted to sort out first, is that right? And were there other options you had to?
I mean, there has been. I mean, obviously with multi-channeling, there's always many options. You know, you could do movies, you could do music, you could do news. But again, when we chose the 14 to 39 skew, it was a perfect fit with the model of the 9 premium channel. I mean, again, it is 25-54. I mean, the 14 to 39 is a very, very attractive demographic for the advertisers. And so, yes, we went through several models, but this is a perfect fit for our brand.
Is there a concern, though, I guess, with some of the programs that you've got on, like Seinfeld and I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched, that I guess they're not really for that younger audience? So if you're going up against, you know, say a Fox 8, which has been successful, you know, at targeting that niche, is there, I guess, a concern that you're sort of trying to please everyone, like you're not actually sort of getting that target audience?
Well, obviously we're aiming for the demographic, the audience that is available at the time, but if you look at our primetime schedule, we have 10 Australian premiere episodes going to air, all new episodes. I hear what you're saying when you talk about the Genies and the Bewitched, but we unfortunately have classification restrictions when it comes to our time bands. We have to play G programming between 4 and 7 o'clock each day, and so it does fit. We're going to freshen up the promotional activity of those shows. I mean, you actually see, I think, Jetsons on the schedule as well. There's a brand new movie coming out shortly aiming at a young demographic. So we're very focused and very aware of what the young audience is after. And the channel is a living entity at the moment, and we are it's growing and changing literally day by day.
So with Jetsons, I guess, that's animation, obviously.
Yes.
So, I mean, is that something that you're trying to do to compete against, say, the 10s and the Fox 8s that have been so successful?
Well, we've got a lot of
animation
on the schedule on Saturday and Sunday mornings, which is very much aimed at the younger demo. The majority of that content is Australian premiere episodes, which we got through our output deals with Warner Brothers. So, I mean, sourcing content that fits that demographic, you know, is sometimes a little bit tougher, but we're happy with the schedule at launch, and as I said, it will grow and expand as we acquire more content.
What are the expectations of the network in the early days? Are you expecting anything in a hurry, ratings-wise? I mean, David Gingell's come out and mentioned a few targets.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I think when you look at the performance of ABC2, SBS2 and 1HD, they perform very, very strong numbers with very specific programs, whether it be, you know, a big Grand Prix on 1HD or Tour de France on SBS2. We have a target that we are focusing on. We believe we will achieve that target and hopefully exceed that target. So
you can't tell us what that is.
Call me in 2 weeks' time. But no, we're pretty excited about it, and again, it's a free service. It's a national service, so we're hoping it will deliver some very, very strong numbers.
And what about with
particularly in those young demos?
With advertising as well, I mean, how are you going to be able to do that? Will you be offering, you know, I guess, advertising on the digital channel for those who are already on the existing channel? How's that going to work?
At the moment, I mean, we've been out in the market talking about the channel, talking about both the premium channel and Go, and the feedback from both advertisers and agencies has been extremely strong. I mean, I did a couple of interviews yesterday with radio stations, and again, the demo that we were talking to at that stage were extremely excited about it. So when it comes to getting clients on board, I think we've already got a couple close to being signed up right now, which is fantastic. Well, we've got 2 guaranteed.
But can you tell us who they are?
One is fantastic, and we've got a couple of movie studios that are very, very keen to come on board, so very excited.
People watching us today through their Foxtel or Ozstar boxes, what's ahead for them? I believe Ozstar viewers might get to see this first.
Well, hopefully Ozstar will come on board, I think it's in about 2 or 3 weeks' time. And the Foxtel platform will carry the signal, hopefully, in about 2 months' time.
With the deal that you've done with Warner Brothers as well, obviously Gossip Girl and The Hills already well known to subscription viewers. Happen to be a big Gossip Girl fan myself. So, I mean, what's going to happen with that? Because obviously they'll still premiere first, won't they, on Fox 8 and MTV?
Well, those shows will.
Yeah.
But moving forward, shows like Vampire Diaries, which is the new big buzz show out of the States for 2009, 2010, that will be exclusive to Go. They fit the demographic profile perfectly. So moving forward, programming that we probably would have on-sold to other channels. Those shows will stay on the Go channel and be Australian premiere episodes, which is very exciting for us.
Any plans for local production as well?
Yes, there certainly is. At launch, and again, it's a work in progress. At launch, we will be looking at short-form programming to start with, whether it be snow reports, whether it be fashion reports, whether it be the local bar and restaurant scene reports. That's the initial stage, and then as we progress over the next, probably the next, say, 2 to 3 months, we'll have more locally produced programming. Particularly also linked to clients that we get on board. I know we've signed up the Arias, so that's one of the first locally produced shows that'll be on the channel. But yes, there certainly will be a number of Australian-made shows moving forward.
Will there be cross-promotion between 9 and Go at all? Will people watching Go realise this is sort of a sub-9 brand? Or?
Well, again, the 2 brands are totally separate. There's the Go channel, which is the younger 14 to 39, and then the premium channel is 25-54. So when it comes to cross-promotion, if you watch the premium channel right now, you will see selected programs where we promote the new channel. But again, we're aiming at different demographics. So there will be times, but overall, the channel will be kept totally separate entities.
So if I'm watching 9 and say this is a soft launch, but in a month or 2 when you're
sure.
at full steam, if I'm watching 9, will I ever see an ad for Go? Or probably unlikely?
It'd be unlikely.
Yeah.
Because again, it's very much the unique brands.
Right.
All right, we've run out of time, I'm afraid, but thank you so much for coming on and telling us about Go, of course, launching this weekend. Les Sampson from the 9 Network.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, just time for a quick check on the ratings for week 31 of the season. To the free-to-air, top 10 first, and 7 doing really well. 7 News Sunday leading the way, packed to the rafters at number 2. Talking about your generation for 10 there at number 4. And just turning the page, 10 also at number 7 there with Night at the Museum, but and ABC 1 at Spix and Specs at number 9. Let's just have a look at the top 10 winners for subscription TV, and Fox Sports 2, big winner there with those NRL games. AFL for Fox Sports 1 at number 4 there, and just turning the page, Fox 8's Family Guy at number 8, and The Simpsons for Fox 8 as well. They're at number 10, most watched. All right, let's get James's view on all the news coming out of the rating spectrum. Just firstly, interesting to hear that 7 might be looking for a MasterChef-like success.
Yeah, My Kitchen Rules is the show they've just put into development. They had a show, it's probably a couple of years ago, I think it ran for 2 series, My Restaurant Rules, where people were given a restaurant to try and make it viable, and they were sort of voted out every week. Well, this one's going to find the best cooks around Australia, like home cooks, and I guess there'll be a process of elimination till they find the right one. Yeah, they'll be hoping a bit of a rub-off effect from MasterChef Australia. And
of course, we had 10 unveiling its second half lineup. What did you make of it? Obviously, the first half so successful with MasterChef, and talking about your generation.
It looks pretty good. I guess the key thing is Celebrity MasterChef. That's going in on Wednesday nights. That should do very well for them. Big expectations there. A few other things, new episodes of NCIS. There's a spin-off series called NCIS Los Angeles, which will also be on a Wednesday night. So they're going to have a very strong Wednesday night. New Magda Sabansky show coming out of Southern Star, that we were talking about before, coming in on Tuesday nights. Yeah, so it looks pretty good actually, on paper anyway. Which.
And the 7 p.m. project as well, definitely 10 saying it's committed to that, well, at least till the end of this year, seeing how
David
it goes.
White came out and said, you know, we're standing by the show till the end of the year, which is often a cause for concern, because when people say that, it can tend to be a bit of bad luck. But no, it's still doing in the 700,000s every night. It's not brilliant, but it's, you know, there's a base there, and if they can pump that up a little bit, they'll have a show there that can work into the future.
And just quickly, Fox Sports signing this new agreement with regards to broadcast of basketball.
Yeah, NBL, I think they're renewed. They've had a relationship now, probably going back about 15 years. The deal includes international games for the Boomers and the Opals, the men's and women's teams. Yeah, so it's, there's a, you know, you've got to watch out. You've got to do all your deals now. They recently re-signed with Cricket Australia because there's lots of people out there. One, of course, are all chasing sports deals, so it's very important you tie down your content.
Okay, James Manning, Media Week editor and publisher as always. Thank you so much.
Brady.
And from the team here, thanks for joining us.